This is a video on embryology baking, the second in a series on art-based approaches to anatomy at home. Clay modeling is a means of art-based anatomy education. It can be used in a variety of ways, showing a variety of anatomical structures, but personally I'm very partial to embryology. Embryology, or the study of the development of anatomy, can be quite a complex topic. Most people don't have access to 3D models that show embryological structures well, and there's usually not an associated lab with embryology, unlike the other anatomical sciences. Even with the influx of virtual models, there's still not a lot of access for students to be able to visualize these structures. This is where clay modeling comes in. Students can use a constructive approach to visualize and create structures that they might just be otherwise viewing in textbooks. Many of these points in this video will apply to anatomy in general as well, as in addition to other basic sciences. However, in the current climate, not everyone might have access to Play-Doh or modeling clay or wish to buy them, and easily having these tools on hand to loan to students isn't possible. So this video is going to highlight how we can use the same methods, but with baking. Baking can also add a fun element to this clay modeling, and also create a form of gentle competition if you want to encourage things like bake-offs. In the future, baking using anatomical structures can also be used to support local medical schools with bake sales to support good causes facilitated by students. It also doesn't necessarily require baking skills, making it accessible to a lot of students, as students can use sweets and candy to do the same exact thing instead of baking. That's what this video is going to center around, showing a few embryonic developmental events that can be easily modeled via baking. Starting with gastrulation whoopie pies, which are a sort of cake or cookie sandwich in the US. Gastrulation is the process of going from a bilaminar germ disk to a trilaminar germ disk, induced by a structure called the primitive streak. This leads to the formation of 3 early embryonic germ layers, the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. These will be shown in our whoopie pies. So for your ingredients, I took 1 box of cake mix, a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, 2 eggs, 3 tablespoons of milk, and mix these together, modifying the recipe from the back of the cake box. I hand mixed until smooth, then divided the mixture in 2. I then added dye to these batters to represent 2 of our 3 germ layers. I have blue in one bowl to represent the colors of the epiblasts, and then yellow in the second bowl to represent the colors of the hypoblasts, as often are shown in traditional embryology texts. You'll then mix these colors until they're well integrated. We're then going to grab a spoon and spray with a little cooking spray and scoop the batter into oval heaps on parchment-lined baking sheet. We're then going to pop them into the oven, which was preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes or until the cookies look well set. So that handles 2 of the 3 layers, but we can see from illustrated cross sections that the creation of the mesoderm via the primitive streak is a key part of gastrulation. So we'll be baking the center of our whoopie pies to represent that. We'll be using a frosting layer to represent our mesoderm. So for our ingredients, I took 4 ounces of soft cream cheese, a 1/4 cup of soft butter, yellow and red food coloring, 1 teaspoon vanilla, 1 tablespoon of milk, and 1 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, which will cream together until we get this peachy colored frosting. While we're doing that, our cookies would have finished, so we're going to let them cool, then prepare for assembly. We'll take an epiblast half, a hypoblast half, and then we'll want to add a primitive streak to our epiblast, as it's so key in this developmental process. I used pearl sprinkles to represent that. We'll then align our cookies, making our bilaminar germ disk, before adding in our mesoderm. Then, to show how the migration of epibest cells occurs via the primitive streak, we'll add in some more pearl sprinkles. And ta-da! We can cut it open and see that cross section of our trilaminar germ disk. Delicious! There's also lots more you can make. I remade my clay take on facial development by modeling my various facial prominences with cookie dough instead of modeling clay. Just be mindful of how things might bake out. My facial development cookies fused a bit more than I might have liked. It's also okay to understand that all ideas won't work out, and that's fine. I thought cardiac looping would be a great look in soft pretzel form, but alas, the pretzel dough did not hold up like clay dough does. You live and you learn, and even in baking disasters, I still put in the time to critically think about the embryonic process, and the benefit of baking is that I also felt very new girl in the moment, which is a great show, and at least I had delicious soft pretzels, even if they didn't show cardiac looping well. So grab your baking supplies or your sweets, channel your creativity, and think what topics in embryology, anatomy, or other basic science subjects could be revised in new and delicious ways. And thanks for watching.